All right, welcome to lesson 5. Now let's take Python to the next level. So far our programs have just been printing messages, but real-world applications need to interact with users. And so that's where the input function comes in. Think of input like the opposite of print. And instead of displaying information, it collects information from the user. And essentially it's a built-in function in Python, which just means the logic behind it is already written for us. It's that recipe of instructions that I told you about previously. And we just need to use it. So what we're going to cover in this lesson is how the input works, how to convert text into numbers, and how to use calculations and formatted output to create useful programs. So let's get started with our project. I've already created a project called Lesson 5. And go ahead and create a file called inputs.py. So let's start with a simple example. Try this out in your Python environment. We're going to write input and then pass in a string. What's your name? All right. And you go ahead and just run your program, Control R. And you see in our terminal, it says, what's your name? So I'm going to type star and hit enter. All right. Now, a couple of things to notice. I wrote star and I hit entered, and you can tell that the program is finished by this process finished with exit code 0. Okay. Now, I'm going to run this program again, and I'm going to show you something. I'm going to hit Control R, and you see it says, what's your name? Now, right now, literally, this is waiting for us to enter our answer. And if we had more code on this screen, the next lines wouldn't run because this is considered a blocking function. Don't get too boggled up on that, but just the moral of the story is that it stops the program until you enter a response and hit enter. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my response again, and I'm going to hit enter. And there we go. Here's the thing now. There's still a problem with this. All of this just went down, but okay, what's my name? What are we going to do with that? Like, how do we use this name? And so with this input function, Python is forgetting what the response is to this question. So we need a way to store this response into a variable so that we can use it later in our program. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to store the input and the response of our input and assign it to a variable. So I'm going to comment this first line out. And then I'm going to say, let me see, savings equals input. How much have you saved? And then next, I'm going to write goal equals input. What's your savings goal? And after that, I'm going to print we'll use a F string. F savings equals savings goal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run the program. Control R. All right, and so we have how much have you saved? So I'm just going to say $5,000. And then what's your savings goal? I'm going to say 10,000. And we can see savings equals 5,000, goal equals 10,000. Now let's take it up a notch and let's create a variable called needed. And needed is going to be goal minus savings. All right. So let's see what happens when we run this. Let me go ahead and update this. Print statement input needed equals needed. All right, so I'm going to run the program again. How much have you saved? I'm going to say 5,000. Oh, got to be in the terminal. 5,000. Okay, what's your savings goal? 10,000. Oh, there is an error. All right, what happened here? Why is there an error? So even though we typed a number as our user input for the input function, this input always returns a string. What it's going to do is it's going to convert that number into a string. So this needed variable, it's trying to subtract words instead of numbers. So we need a way to convert our input strings into numbers. So quickly before I move ahead, I'm just going to prove to you that it is actually a string from the input. So print, and I'm going to put type. I'm going to use another function. This function is called type, and what this does is it tells you the data type of whatever you enter inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to enter savings. And so when I run the program, we should see that this is a string. So I'm going to hit Control R. How much have you saved? 5,000, enter. Okay, and we can see that it says type class string. All right, so the program's blocking right now, so I need to get out of the program. I'm just going to go ahead and press stop. And so that got us out of the program. That was like a very abrupt ending because it was in the middle. It was effectively waiting. It was a blocking function and it was like in the middle. It was not a graceful ending, but I digressed here. So how do we fix this? How can we convert the text from the user input into an actual number before doing the math? So we have two options. First, we can use this function called the int function, and that is used for whole numbers. So 10, 500, 1,000, 1,000, 5,000. We can use a float, and float is for decimal numbers. So 10.5, 99.99, etc., etc. So let me show you how we're going to fix it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to convert this savings into an integer, into a whole number. So I'm going to put int, and I'm going to pass in the savings variable. So we're reassigning that string savings to a number savings, an int savings. The next, I'm going to also do that for the goal. Okay, I'm going to do int goal. So let's try running the program again. How much have you saved? Oh, gosh. Y'all, my voice is going away. Okay, there we go. 5,000. So we see this type is an int. What's your savings goal? I'm going to say 10,000. All right. And now this has gone through and we're able to print out savings equals 5,000, goal equals 10,000, needed equals 5,000. Okay, awesome. We did a great job here. So let's actually try this with float. So I'm going to use savings again, and I'm going to reassign savings. At this point right now, savings is a number, okay? Because when we read code, we read it like a book. We start from the top and go down, 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 down. So right now, I am going to reassign this number, this int, this whole number to a decimal. But this would work exactly with the string. Okay, so I'm going to put savings here. And you know what? Just to show that it will actually convert a input string into a float, I'm going to ask the goal again, that question. So I'll get the input from the user. Are you sure that's your goal? What is it again? What is it again? And then after that, I'm going to hit goal. Float, we're going to convert the answer. And then we're just going to print. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this again. All right, so I'm going to hit Control R. How much have you saved? So this is running in order. So it's starting at the top of the program. 5,000. Okay, 10,000 is my savings goal. All right, so it has printed that information. It's gave us that value for needed. And so then now it has automatically converted the savings, the float savings, to savings. And then now it has jumped to the input question again. And so that's why it's like, hey, are you sure that's your goal? What's it again? So I'm going to say 10,000. And then we're going to be able to see that it is able to print this information for us. But the way it's printing it is with a decimal. It's a little bit different. Savings equals 5,000.0, goal equals 10,000.0. And needed is only 5,000. And why is that? Is because it's pulling needed from here. We didn't update needed again. So what did we learn today? We took a big step in learning how to make Python interactive. We learned about the input function, how Python asks for user input, and it will stop the program until the user provides a response. We learned how to store the user input into the variable so we can use it later. And then we learned more about data types. And we also know input function always returns a string. So if we want to use it as a number, we can use either the int or the float to convert that string into a number. So our next lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to work on a project together, and we're going to be putting everything that we have learned so